Now we're going to work the skirt and the skirt lining. First you have to decide whether you want to serge the edges and then close the seam and iron the seams apart, or whether or not you want to close the side seams and then serge them together. That really depends on how heavy the fabric is that you're using. But very often, especially if you use Dupion silk from China, it is much lighter than, for example, Dupion silk from India. We talked about this before. And in that case, it makes much more sense to first close the side seams and then serge or finish off the edges together. And that's really all the decision making you have to make at this stage. In my example here, I serged the sides and then I closed the center back up to that point that is also marked on your pattern piece where it says, sew up to this point here so that we have an opening, which you of course need to get in and out of the dress. I'm going to mark that here with a pin. And as you can see here on the side seam, even though this is a fairly firm silk, I've just stuck with the method of sewing them together, serging them together, and then ironing the skirt side seams to the back and the lining side seams to the front, so it's nice and flat. Seam allowance is 1 centimeter, as always. And you can see here how this iron-on facing is already there. I am not a great fan of this because it does make it stiff, but on the other hand, it doesn't crinkle as much and you don't need to put any other fabrics underneath it to give it body. So I'm a bit undecided. Definitely something though to check out when you are making a dress like that. And here I am now sewing together the center back only to the point that I've marked where we leave the opening. Then you overlock the side seams and you iron them towards the center back. And then of course center back is going to be ironed apart. Then overlock the hem and turn it up 2.5 centimeters. And then you can iron this first and then pin it. And we're going to hand stitch it all the way around. So here's how to do the hand stitching. You fold over your hem and then you thread up a needle, put a knot in the end, secure the thread, and then you're kind of picking up a tiny bit of your skirt and a little bit more of your hem. And then you keep pulling it like I've just done here so that you see nothing from the outside, and then you do that all the way around. The lining is worked exactly like the skirt, but you have to be careful. Up here where we have a dotted line, there we need to trim the top because of course it needs to be a little shorter. Now the hem you can just turn up and work as you would. If you want to add a little bit of lace to this hem, then you have to trim it at the line here. Again, a dotted line, the same line you would use if you're using a hem trim. Just make sure that the underskirt shows as little or as much of the lace as you want it to be. If you're looking here, we've got 3 centimeters for the hem. So if you cut off there, and the lace is 4 centimeters long, you'd hardly see it, okay? So you just need to pay a little bit of attention to that one when you trim along this dotted line. The one thing that's a little bit different to what I would normally advise is due to the fact that my lining here was a very light fabric. So what I did here, I also closed the center back first together and then serged it either side because it is so light I could just iron it over to one side and it was no issue at all. And if you want to add lace to your skirt, let me show you how that works. So now I'm going to use this fantastic gather foot. So you need to take your part off the actual machine and then put your gather foot over the side and plonk it on there. Now I have to say that my gather foot did this beautifully and then broke when I was doing the petticoat, and I actually had to do everything by hand and with an overlocker. So
that was very gutting, and I will certainly get another one of these because, as you will see now, it's absolutely so easy. You're putting the eyelet lace with the wrong side facing down onto the right side of the skirt, right? And then you can also adjust here with a little screw how much you want it to gather in. So I always get like loads of lace. Like I said, I got like 10 meters just to make sure, because no way did I want to run out. Then you just let the lace run through the top, and look, it gathers it and at the same time sews it to the skirt. It's just genius. So if you like making skirts like that, please get yourself one of those, and you'll never look back and you'll never think, oh no, I have to gather all this stuff. Just look at that machine go. It's just like absolutely brilliant. And this is again a puff attachment, and it's 45 pounds, I think it was, so it's expensive. Anyway, you overlock afterwards and you're getting this beautiful finished hem, so much nicer than just turning it in and in. And now you can see it's the wrong side of the skirt and then the right side of the lace going down. And because I don't want even this to show, I'm putting over a ribbon, so when she lifts her little skirt, you can see the ribbon as well, which is gorgeous. These little touches really make a dress, I think, but of course they take extra time and you don't really have to do it. You could just top stitch it down and it'll be just as nice. Anyway, I'm just putting the bias binding just over my stitching line and then really stitch it close to the edge, and the end is just tucked in and then you go over it. It's easy, but I tell you what, boy, that skirt, I just did not even want to put it in the post. I could have just left that on the dummy and looked at it for a while. Move it over to the other side and then go over this. And the other thing is, no flower girl ever will have skirts like that. Nothing you can buy will look like this. Then give it a really good press. Also press down a little bit, you know, with a bit of steam, your gathered lace. And just look at that. How cool is that? Now, there's another video showing you how to do the net petticoat. On this one, the petticoat magically has just appeared on my skirt, and I tell you what, that petticoat was a labor of love as well. Make sure that whatever you do, you have the petticoat on before you sew the skirts together,
because it is really, really difficult to do it afterwards. You're dealing with so much fabric. So if you wanted to make the petticoat, do that now before you move on to the next step, and that is to join those two skirts together at the center back. See you there.